everybody, and thank you for joining this month's Trivy Office Hours. Now, these office hours happen on a monthly basis, and we share updates from the latest Trivy release, as well as the Trivy operator releases. We have several live demos. You can also join these office hours with your questions if you have any user-related questions or related to the product, the project, how to use it, if there's anything unclear, if you want to discuss anything related to the roadmap, then please do let us know. We post the office hours prior to it happening on Slack, so you can let us know on Slack what you want to discuss. And then we post a recording on YouTube. So if you're joining and recording on YouTube, then hello. You can post any questions in the comments as well, and we will reply there as well. Now, bear in mind that within any interactions, whether on Slack or here in the Trivy Office Hours, the code of conduct from our community repository applies. So please treat each other with respect. Now, we have several different things we're gonna discuss and show, starting off with some updates from the Trivy release. I also saw that Frederick, that you joined. And yeah, I think you're the same person from Slack. Yeah. So
yes, I am.
Yeah, we're also going to discuss the discussion that you shared after the updates. Does it work?
Yeah, it's fine.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Cool. Tepe, do you want to start?
Yeah. Let me share my screen. One sec. Okay. Yeah, now you can see my screen. Yeah, I'll start with the OCI referrals. It's included in the version 040 released last month. I don't get into the detail because we had a talk in KubeCon about this new feature. So you can watch this YouTube video to see the detail. But I will briefly describe it. We added support the new spec in OCI registries. Now the OCI artifacts such as container images and binaries can have the referrals. So, for example, if you have the container image in OCI registry, we can get the list of referrals for that container image. And one good use case is SBOM. SBOM is uploaded to OCI registry and reference back to the container image. The Trivy can find it. So when scanning the container image, if you pass the -- SBOM sources OCI, Trivy tries to discover SBOM in OCI registry and use that SBOM for vulnerability scanning instead of putting container images. So yeah, it's much faster because SBOM is small enough compared to the container image itself. Yeah, this is a summary of this new feature. Of course, there we have some more features, but I don't get into them. The second of all, we added SBOM support for VM images. Now Trivy can scan VM images such as VMDK format for vulnerabilities. Also, Trivy supports AMI, Amazon Machine Image. You just pass the AMI ID, and Trivy pulls the VM image from AWS and scans that for vulnerability. And then now you can also generate SBOM for VM images. So it's pretty simple. Just you, I'll show the demo. Yeah, like Trivy VM, it's have a command like Trivy image. and pass the minus minus format, SPDX and CycloneDX, whatever you want to use, and pass the AMI ID or snapshot ID in AWS. That's it. Then Trivy fetches this image and generate SBOM. So it's SPDX, and the image I specified is Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9. So it describes the detail of this VM image. I think that's it for this feature. The next is BEX support. The BEX stands for the Vulnerability Exploitability Exchange. Yes. This is a standardized format for the sharing and exchanging information about the vulnerabilities. I'll share the example, BEX and SBOM combination. I like this diagram, so I'll use it. First of all, the security scanners consume SBOM, and they of course use a vulnerability database like security advisories from Red Hat, Debian, and GitHub. And security scanners detect vulnerabilities. Okay, let's say there are 200 vulnerabilities, but most of them are not exploitable. For example, if the relevant code is not included by compiler, or relevant code is present but not used or exposed. So, for example, let's say that Trivy uses Open Policy Agent, which is vulnerable, and the security scanners report, hey, the Trivy uses this OPA and it's vulnerable, but no, Trivy doesn't use this vulnerable function or this vulnerable feature, so actually it's not affected. In this case, we can use BEX. We can publish BEX saying this software has this component, but actually it's not affected. Something like that. So mainly this is for software supplier. So if you are providing SBOM, I'd recommend providing BEX as well. So yeah, in this version, Trivy supports CycloneDX and OpenBEX for BEX. Also, there is another format, the CSAF for BEX. Trivy doesn't support now, but it's pretty simple. When you scan SBOM for vulnerabilities, you can also pass the BEX document. Then Trivy filters out the vulnerabilities. I'll show you the demo. First of all, generating BEX as usual, like CycloneDX, SPDX, whatever. This go mode is Trivy's one. SBOM is generated. And look into this SBOM. Yeah, this SBOM contains dependencies of Trivy. Trivy is written in Golang, so it shows Go dependencies. And scan this SBOM, Trivy SBOM, and the file path to this SBOM. Yeah, it shows a vulnerability. Trivy uses AWS SDK Go, and there are two vulnerabilities. CB 2020-8911 and 8912. But okay, let's say like 8911 is not vulnerable actually, because Trivy doesn't call this function. In this case, we can use BEX. OpenBEX is one of BEX formats. Of course, you can use CycloneDX BEX or any other formats. But in this example, in this demo, I used OpenBEX. And there are some metadata like timestamp and the version. And the most important part is the statements. Here you can put the vulnerability ID like CVE blah blah blah. and the products. The products describes which SBOM and which component. So, and also status, not affected, and why it's not affected. You have to put justification. In this case, vulnerable code, not only execute pass. This justification is defined in the BEX specification, so you must follow those spec. And this is a bit complicated, but you must get document ID in SBOM. In this case, you can find the document ID in serial number here. Yes, this one is a document ID and also version, version 1, because SBOM can be incremented, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the products, you put SBOM document ID and version, and also take the component ID from SBOM. This case, we want to suppress vulnerabilities for AWS SDK Go. So look into SBOM and find the BOM reference. This is a unique ID to represent this component in SBOM. Okay, package colon // blah 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 AWS SDK Go. So you also put this component reference. And yeah, that's it. So now Trivy can filter out this vulnerability. Yeah, it consists of document ID and a document version and a component ID. Okay, scan the SBOM with this BEX. Trivy open BEX and pass the SBOM. Now the vulnerability 8911 has gone. You remember that there were 2 vulnerabilities. Now it's only 1 vulnerability because Trivy filtered out the vulnerability. Also, you can see the log message. One sec. Yeah, in the last line of the log messages, it says filtered out detected vulnerabilities because of this reason, status and justification. So now, yeah, you can remove false positive. So yeah, this is the BEX support in Trivy. In the next step, we try to encourage software suppliers to upload BEX to OCI registries. For example, if you have the Docker image, the container image in the OCI registry, you should provide SBOM, and also you should provide the BEX. Then Trivy will find the BEX and the SBOM and detect more accurate, show more accurate result. So this is the next step, but yeah. But this is an experimental feature, and it's in its early stage. So we are sure it will change a lot because BEX spec itself is not stable yet. So now we are discussing with the maintainers of the BEX specifications. We are trying to contribute to the BEX spec. Yeah, after that we will get stable. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Maybe in the topic of false positives, we can discuss the discussion that Frederick posted. You want to give an overview, Frederick? Or should we look directly, should we screen share the...
Screen share, but I can give an overview real quick. So this is, so I'm only going to specify stuff related to Debian, related containers and findings. So that's all I found was for stuff related to Debian. So long story short is this: whenever I scan like the latest Docker Hub images, like if I scan the latest Debian Docker Hub like Docker images, I get findings for vulnerabilities that are considered minor they're considered minor fixes or minor DSAs by Debian, by the Debian advisory itself. And so in the discussion, let me pull that up real, okay, perfect. And so in the discussion, I was scanning against, which container was I scanning against?
Can you share the discussion that I posted in the chat?
I can share my screen as well.
Yeah, that works as well. Might be easier.
Hold on. Never mind. System permission images. System permission issues. Give me 1 second.
Pepper can also share it if that's easier.
Yeah.
It's in the chat.
1 sec. I'm not in the Zoom chat, so.
You want me to show?
Yeah.
I can share. 1 second, I'll show.
Yeah.
Okay, I lost the link now. Okay. So, chat. Yes, this one, right?
Ken is sharing right now, by the way.
Yeah.
So here's the discussion.
So, let me know if you want to scroll up, scroll down.
Okay, so if we go down to, so this was the, so I just outputted, so this is the Debian debug that I outputted over to, that I was outputting, and the main gist is that if I'm scanning, so if I'm scanning a specific image, like for instance, you scroll all the way down, you'll see the image that I scanned.
Yeah.
This is just a debug output. That's the version. So I scanned that specific image, which is it's a pretty recent image from Debian 11. It's a Debian Bullseye Slim image. And if you click on the gist, you see that gist article or that gist link that has a fully debugged JSON output. And so pretty much what's going on here is that this specific output, so this specific container, it gets all the vulnerabilities. And for instance, there's a specific dependency called libdb 5.3, and that dependency was rated as a critical under the CVE standards. But in the Debian advisory, this specific vulnerability got deemed a minor finding. And so one thing I'd like to do is that I'd like to be able to ignore any Debian related findings that are considered minor issues. I can also link the Debian security advisory as well.
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we agree with you. Actually, this is not the first time to get this request. The problem is UI UX, because Debian doesn't provide stability. Like they mark it as a minor issue. So
exactly.
Yeah, how can we show this information? Like change severity from critical to low, or as you said, we should add a new flag to ignore minor issues, or we ask Debian to publish VEX, and as I showed, like this vulnerability is filtered out because Debian considers it's a minor issue, or so. Yeah, there is a discussion how we show this information, how use this information. So.
Yeah, maybe we can do the workaround with the policy, like can pass a filter policy, right, to filter out.
Yeah, but now we don't put this information into our result. For example, like Debian considers this as a minor issue, but we don't put that information. Actually, in our database, we have this information, but we don't use it now because we didn't come up with a good idea to show this information. So we welcomed any ideas, feedback on this.
I mean, if you guys already have it, I have a great, in my personal opinion, I have a good idea on how to approach this. So you guys could add under, I'm just looking at, so right now I'm looking at the schema. Can you give me just show me one vulnerability object? Okay, so I think okay, so it's all the way there. All right, so scroll up.
Yeah, this one.
Or it really doesn't matter, but like, so anywhere you could put, so one thing you could put, I would suggest if you already have the minor information, I would suggest putting it in one of I'm not sure which field to put it under. I think you could put it right below severity and say Debian minor-ish, like you could. How are these objects created? That's my first question, because I'm trying to think from y'all's point of view to make sure, like, all right, is this going to break things? Because you could put it under data source. You could put it under the data source object and then add the field, minor, either under the data source field or under the severity, saying minor Debian minor source equal, and then create that field, that key there.
You mean we will add a new field on the data source, like a description, like
Yeah, that's one thing I'm thinking, because ultimately what I would like to be able to do is that, so I would like, so how are you get, so there's a flag called ignore unfixed. And so how is that, how does that ignore unfixed flag work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Just there is a fixed version or not.
And the same concept could be applied for ignore Debian minor vulnerabilities, for instance. That's just one approach I'm thinking of. Instead of like, that's just one way that could go about it, is by simply adding, like, creating a flag and being able to just ignore any Debian related minor vulnerabilities. I'm not sure if this is applicable for other distros. I really only dabble in the Debian realm.
Actually, this is a very Debian specific. So, usually, if the Red Hat considers, no, this is a minor issue, they change severity to low or something like that. But Debian doesn't do that. They just mark this is a minor. So, Debian is very special. So, also another problem is how we can show this information in the table. For example, ignore unfixed. It's relatively straightforward, because in the table, we show the installed version and the fixed version. And if the fixed version is empty, there is no patch. So I want to ignore this vulnerability. How can we do that? I found a flag to ignore unfixed vulnerabilities. It's easy, like just add a new flag. But for Debian, I'm not sure how we can. I don't want to add a new column in the table, Debian minor or not. So in JSON, yeah, maybe it works, but in table, yeah. So yeah, it's like UI UX stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely agree to filter out minor issues. So yeah, but yeah, we can discuss it on GitHub. We can keep discussing on GitHub.
Yeah, that's maybe better from here to discuss part further on GitHub.
Yeah, because we have some more updates, so maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but yeah, thanks for feedback. Yeah, it totally makes sense, yeah.
Awesome. Ken, let's Sima first, since Sima is related to, this update is related to
Let's stop share. Go ahead.
All right, I can do that.
Can you share?
Unless you go now? Or?
Sima is sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we go to the trivia operator and questions related.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share a quick update on how to skip stuff. So we already have a flag called skip files with Trivy, and then you can pass in any files that you want to skip to basically to the skip files flag, and Trivy will just ignore them. So we added a feature where you can skip, I guess, more files or files that you don't know where specifically they are. So I'll just show a quick demo here. So in this case, you can see this is a directory that contains a Docker file and a YAML file. Let's say you're just only interested in the vulnerability that are present in the Docker file. So when you scan it with just simple Trivy config, you'll see vulnerabilities or misconfigurations in both the Docker file and the YAML file. So you'll see a lot of results. Maybe you're just only interested in looking at, sorry, what happened here? Okay. Yeah, maybe you're just interested only in looking at the Docker file misconfigurations and you want to skip over the YAML stuff. So you can do that today by passing in star YAML, which is going to ignore anything that matches an extension of .yaml. So today that works. Let's say we had a bit of a more interesting example where you have your YAML file nested 2 or more levels or whatever, however many levels under it's like a few directories, and then you had a Docker file somewhere, and you were trying to run at the project root level, which could be just the top level of this project, the Trivy config scan. So if you did the same thing that we tried earlier, if you just passed in star YAML and hope that your YAML files will be skipped, that was not something that Trivy did prior to this feature that we added. So you'll still see all the YAML stuff show up under several nested directories. So what we had, or what you could do in the past is something like this, where you could specify exactly where your YAML file lived. So you would have to know, that my YAML file lives 3 directories under. So you need to skip in such a way where */*/*. So be able to get to that YAML and then skip that file. So if you did that, that would work. But this is clearly not the easiest way and not the most convenient way, and it forces you to know where the file that you're trying to ignore exactly lives. In some cases, it might be okay because you know where that is and it's kind of a one-off thing. But in cases where either you're trying to scan something that you don't own or something that is an external dependency where things change without you knowing them, this is kind of a hassle to be able to be able to change or to have to change this skip files feature. So what we added was something like this, where you can basically ignore whatever in terms of path and then specify a file extension. So what this does is basically it ignores at what level or where that particular file that you're trying to ignore lives. And as long as it finds anything under from where you're starting your scan, so anything from the current directory or the directory you pass in or anything under that, if it matches the YAML extension, it is going to skip that. So this particular thing is called a double star or glove star in Unix terminology. So that's what this feature is. So basically now you can skip YAML files wherever they are without having to know exactly where they are present. So this this way you don't have to know where the YAML is or where you have to ignore. So this this is I guess a small contrived example where like you can see exactly where the stuff is to ignore, but in more involved cases, like you can have more than one skip file, or you can have maybe you wanted to ignore dependencies of a vendor that you are vendoring in your project. So you can use this feature for that as well. So there's a few ways to use this. And now it's just a little easier to do that as compared to the prior releases of Trivy. And yeah, that's all I have.
Cool. Thank you. Ken, you want to go ahead?
Yes.
And then we have a few questions related to the Trivy operator.
No problem. I'll just start with just one thing on the latest Trivy release. We've added the capability to produce a custom compliance report with the config and file system subcommand. So I'll show a quick demo how it works. It's a nice addition to give users the ability to produce these reports as they like. Okay, so let's 1 second. Let's take a look at the demo. Not yet the demo. 1 second, sharing again. Yes. Okay, so the idea here is basically I don't see it. I have two files that I want to produce. One is the input file. Okay, what I call it just a YAML file that I want to deploy. I want to inspect it and validate its configuration. So it's a simple pod. In this example, it's just HCD pod. And within this file, I would like to create a policy and like compliance report, and then to present it in a way that compliance report are presented. The compliance report will look like this. It's a simple YAML. There is also details more in the Trivy documentation how to create the compliance report. We need to define ID, descriptions, in this format, of course. It's important. We need to find the control. The control basically define what are the checks you want to do. So in this example, we want to a check process can elevate its own privilege and other checks. The important part is the check. So the checks, as you can see, are mapped to ID. This ID is AVD ID. This is like internal Aqua checks. Also, user can add custom checks, but the key thing here, they need to put AVD prefix for now. So a user can create any type of reports that he wants. He just need to map AVD checks to the report. Simple as that. And once everything is set up, we have the report set up, we just run the usual Trivy command that we use, which is the Trivy config or file system command. But we have the same in this manner. So when we specify the input file is, for example, the HCD file I showed earlier. And of course, the -- compliance flag, and point it to the file system, to the spec in the file system, the custom spec. Okay, and there is additional flag, -- report. This is how I would like to see the result. Okay, so once I do that, it's basically a cross between the report and between the compliance report specification and the YAML itself. As you can see, we can produce the result. Also, we can have it in a JSON format if we'd like to get more details, like what was failing, and so this gives us more the granular option. Yeah, that's it in general. It's simple to produce any type of report. So in this way, user can create a full compliance report for the organization, just map checks they want to add, and it will give them in a nice and a fancy way, as Trivy does today. Yeah, that's it, I think, in general. If you have any question on that.
I don't think there are any questions on this feature specifically, but there's a question regarding Trivy operator that actually lots of people have asked and related. So basically how to push information from the Trivy operator scans over to other platforms, such as Defect Dojo. How do you pronounce it? Dojo?
Dojo Defect, yeah. So today in Trivy operator we have the web webhook integration, right? So the easy way is to use the webhook integration in Trivy operator. The webhook integration basically watch any report that gets created on Trivy operator, and once the report is created, it sends the output of the report to the pre-configured webhook. Okay, and this is the way to get out data from Trivy outside to any in any place you want. So we have also it's work almost seamless with Posty, but if you want to put it out to Defect Dojo, so you can just take out the data, configure the service, if you can accept the data from Trivy, if it needs to be reformat, if the data needs to be reformat to a Defect Dojo, so then it's another step. But I would use the webhook integration for that.
Is that a good answer, Frederick? Or do you have a follow-up question? I see Sebastian, you have a follow-up question. Frederick, maybe first, since you posted the question.
I'll let Sebastian ask because maybe he has because I'm still thinking I don't have one right now.
Oh, awesome.
If you want, we can continue this, like, on Slack, Federico, or you can also on GitHub if you want more details how to use, or but in general, this is currently the basic way to get data outside of Trivy operator. If you have any other idea, we'll also be happy to.
I can confirm it works lovely. We are using it and putting it to actually post it.
Okay.
And then we have some questions from you, Sebastian. Do you want to ask them directly or should I read them? What do you prefer?
You mean the question regarding what
the
was
tokens?
it? Yeah, separating configuration from secrets.
Yes.
In Posty, that's a Posty related question.
Do you want to ask it here?
Yes, I can do. No problem. But yeah, give me a second. Yeah, the use cases that we would like to deploy the token for Defect Dojo through Kubernetes, kubectl. We would like to provide that token either as an environment variable or the code configuration as a secret. I posted the PR for it, I guess, in GitHub as a suggestion, so to speak, as a proposal for how to do it. And I would like to that we get some feedback. Okay, is that something that is planned and roadmap? Separate them, because otherwise we have to expose it in the source code repository, the token for Defect Dojo. Are there other ways to provide that token to I guess it is an action in Posty? Are there other ways to provide that token, or is the config YAML the only way?
Dimar, do you want to answer on that? Provide further.
Hi, sorry, I don't know the context, to be honest. I can get back to you if this you said is in the Posty GitHub repo. Is it an issue or is it a GitHub discussion?
I think it's a merge request that I posted.
Okay. Sure, I can take a look at it. It's just that these days I'm more involved in DevSec and the Trivy configuration side of things. So sorry, I haven't been able to answer if you've asked it for a while. So apologies for that, but I'll follow up on it once I get a chance.
Yeah, that would be nice. Take your time.
Okay, thanks.
We are not in a hurry, thankfully.
Okay.
And then you had a Trivy related discussion.
Yeah, that's correct. Are you referring to me?
Yes.
Yeah. The second thing is a bit strange. We have a cluster that consists of both ARM64 nodes and Fargate nodes. And we see when we deploy Trivy operator, we see that we have node collectors with a dying heart in Argo CD on Fargate nodes. They cannot be deployed because we don't have a profile for it. And we are not interested in scanning the nodes, actually, in the Fargate nodes. And the question is, how can I avoid these node collector jobs pods are created?
Okay. Are you referring to Trivy or Trivy operator? Just to be.
I think we're deploying the Trivy operator.
The operator, okay. So basically, you can disable the creation of the node collector. There is a flag with the infra assessment enable infra assessment. If you disable it, it will not spin up the node collector job.
Yeah, but we would be more specific. Don't spin up the node collectors on
specific one.
On specific ones, exactly.
Okay.
Nodes,
So
because
this could be a nice addition. Like probably if you open and if you think this could be a nice support, maybe we can take it as contribution if you would like to do it, or maybe we can pick it up.
Yeah, sounds good. Then I will make a proposal for it.
Okay,
so that we have kind of what is that, affinity labels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Awesome. Frederick?
Yes, okay. So one question I have is that, so I'm just looking up looking up workflow, and instead of webhook, I might end up going with Posty. And so what have you guys seen has been the best approach for setting up Posty?
So I actually, I personally haven't used Posty that much because
Fair.
it's still maintained, but not no new features are being currently added because our focus is on Trivy and Tracy. So maybe Simar can provide further information on how would you get started with Posty?
Yeah, so if you wanted to use Posty, there is a pretty good guide to it on the actual repo for Posty. So I'll start there. It should be able to get started and explain everything that Posty has to offer. But I believe what Hen suggested is webhook integration might be a better use case to export the stuff over to other platforms from Trivy operator.
Okay, thank you, Samar. And I'm assuming with like setting up webhooks, you would configure it in the actual Trivy operator pod itself.
In the Helm installation? Ken?
Not in the Helm. I didn't do it via Helm. I think I did do it. I think I did do it via Helm. I don't remember, to be honest. Let me check.
We are actually doing it in Helm, and we just add the URL for the Posty service, and then it arrives there, and then we have different routes and actions attached to forward it to defect object.
Nice. Yeah, maybe you can show.
Yeah, we would love to. I just, as it is with proprietary software and companies corporate stuff, we have to ask for permission. But as far as I see it now, there's no problem to share the configuration. I can share it in Slack later on.
Yeah, if we share it, probably we can make it a documentation. It would be nice, like, use case.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? Anything else? We have like 10 minutes left. No. Okay, I think we addressed everything that was posted on Slack. Cool. Thank you for joining, Frederick and Sebastian. This was really informative and hopefully useful for you to ask those questions here on the Zoom meeting. Do let us know if there's anything we can do to improve these office hours, if there's anything like in terms of maybe timeline or topics that we cover. Otherwise, these happen on a monthly basis on the second Wednesday, usually this time the third Wednesday, but usually on the second Wednesday of every month. And we post the information as well as the Zoom link to join in the Slack channel. Awesome. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you have a great remaining day and to see you next month. Let us know if there's anything else, any other questions on Slack or GitHub. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining.